Welcome back to the MC Run Podcast. This is episode number 12. Today, we do not have our special guest, the bearded dragon, nor the dogs with us today. It's just me and Matthew. And so, we're going to jump right into it. And how was your bike ride today?
Well, today I woke up and I got a bruise on my hip. I don't know why, but I got a bruise. You see it?
I do.
I don't know why. And so I woke up this morning with some distress going on. I'm like, oof, this is not going to be a good day at all. So I woke up with a lot of thoughts in my head racing. It's weird that I have thoughts always racing in my head. I'm not going to lie. Like, why do, as soon as I wake up, like, I have thoughts racing in my head. Like, how unhealthy is that? Like, seriously.
A lot of people actually do have that.
Like, as soon as I wake up, thoughts just flowing through my eye. But when I wake up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night...
You said thoughts flowing through my eye. I got thoughts flowing through my eye. Don't you mean I got thoughts flowing through my head?
Yeah. Out through my eyes. No. But, I don't have them thoughts, but as soon as I wake up and I know that I'm waking up officially, I'm like, I just have thoughts running through my head, and so I can't get my core routine really started like right away like I would want to, because I can't count the number of push-ups, because I'm more focused on my thoughts.
Don't you hate when you lose count of like your reps and it's already burning? Like it's like tremendously burning. Like you're set.
No, because I don't really do reps. I do by time.
Okay, well, say you did it by reps, okay, and you did 15 reps and you were on rep number 10, but for some reason your mind starts thinking and you just be like, oh wait, I'm on rep number 5, but you know you're on rep number 10, but you're like, well, you have that non-quitting mindset, that non-quitting mentality, where you're like, oh, I gotta do 10 more instead of 5 more. It kind of like, I did that one time and it was so painful for my legs, because 10 seconds later I was back to it, because one thing I don't do is rest, like between my sets. First off, it wastes a lot of time. Second off, I like to feel the leg burner, and that is like, you don't have to do essentially like progressive overload in your workouts essentially. There are so many different ways you can do progressive overload besides just upping the weight every time. You can increase your rep. You can decrease the actual rest time. You can increase the amount of sets you do instead of just increasing the weight all the time, because sometimes if you lift way too heavy, you're going to hurt your back, you're going to hurt your arm, and sometimes you can't even lift a weight, and sometimes when the weight is too heavy, you can't feel a good pump, you can't feel like a good burn, just like when the weight is too low, like it's not like, you can't even feel the weight really. You just like, say that you're doing a tricep pull down or whatever it's called, you're not really going to feel it, and so like when the weight's too low, but you're also not going to feel it when the weight's too high. That's why you have to find the appropriate range of like sets and everything like that, because it's just going to help you like actually get the work in that you need to, the strength in you need to.
Yeah, but speaking of the thoughts, I was able to get my core routine done successfully, but after I got some work done, and then I was able to go on my bike ride. And about I don't know, I was sometime in the second half part, so probably about an hour and 20 minutes in. I just had thoughts starting to race through my head, and I'm like, it's so much harder to bike than it is to run. Like even though...
Because bike rides are longer.
Because it's not even that... Well, yes, but it's so much harder getting into bike riding, because I know when I'm running, even if I'm not in a training plan,
the thing is,
I'm wanting to, like, I would love to...
biking's not your favorite discipline. It's running. Running is your favorite discipline. So you'll have like less like, so like when you are not like, when you have something that your hobby and it's taken away from you, you're gonna have to find a new hobby, something that's kind of similar but not super similar. Obviously you're not gonna feel as motivated to do that hobby, that thing, because you don't like it as much as that thing, but you still overall like it, so you're still kind of motivated to do it. You're still motivated to have fun with it, trying to find a new task, and that's kind of what you have to do when you're injured or you have a hobby that's taken away from you. You have to find a new hobby, a new discipline that keeps your mind off of just doing nothing. Because imagine if you're just sitting at the house, okay, and you're injured and you have finished school, you have finished your work or anything, and you just sit in your house for like 10-15 days, just, or even longer than that, just sit in there. I mean, you'll get bored of watching TV at some point. You'll get bored of doing anything, so you just sit there. How boring is that? So you need hobbies. You need disciplines in your life that aren't just... So that's why you need to find more than one discipline in your life. That's why you need to find more than one hobby in your life. Because without just having multiple hobbies, you have that one hobby and that's taken away from you. Well, what are you going to do with your life? You actually are going to have a lot of depression. Like, no joke. If you just sit there without anything, you are going to just have to contemplate life. Like, that's just the way it works.
Yeah, but I was on my bike ride and I was thinking of a training block. I'm like, because later my bike ride just, I don't know. It's like, since I had to take a break from the bike, I'm going to start slowly building back up into what I was used to doing. It's not going to, but I'm like, my goal was to do an hour and a half, but for some reason I felt like, an hour and 45 minutes, but for some reason I felt like I had to do 2 hours. And I'm like, oh my god, I just don't feel like doing 2 hours. I'm like, why are you doing 2 hours anyway? So I didn't end up, short story, I didn't end up doing the 2 hours because that wasn't about, I'm like, why would you even, it was hard to get to an hour and 45 minutes, I guess, because I have no goal that I'm reaching or shooting or aiming for, whatever you want to call it. I just have no goal in my head. While with the race, I know that I'm aiming for a goal. I want to accomplish that goal, so whatever it takes, I'm going to do it. If it takes extra sleep, if it takes extra recovery, I am going to do it. If I had to take a day off from my training, if I had to take a day off from work, if the strength work, this other side work, most of all, actually going for a run or a bike ride, and I'm going to do it because it's not. It takes discipline or motive. Well, it doesn't take motivation. It takes discipline, and I know that to accomplish that goal, I'm going to have to do this. So I found that while I'm biking and out the sport running, I'm getting, I guess you can say, getting better at the bike, and I'm glad I'm getting better, but it's not truly like what I want. I would love to just get back to running and continue getting back to running, as I found it's so much hard to go recover. It's harder to turn on the massage gun and just literally sit there and move it around a little bit, or foam roll, or sit in a hot tub. Like, it's so much harder to do that while I was in a training block. I knew the benefits it was going to do for my legs and other stuff like that, just like sleep. And I had more motivation to do it, and so I did it. Well, even if I truly know that I love running so much more than biking, and so it's, even without a training plan, I know that if I'm running, I'm getting better at the sport of running. So when I start a training block, I'll already have a good, strong aerobic base, maybe some speed into my legs. And when I start any training block, I'll be ready to start that training block, and I'll be even closer to my goal. I'll be able to work harder and maybe even achieve more of my goal than what I set before I would start training, because each run I did, each thing, I was getting better. So I didn't have to have a motivation to do it. I just was determined to get better, and I felt like I wanted to get better at running. And I do want to get better at biking, but it's not like the same motivation, I guess you can say. It's like, I just want to run. I just want to be able to go put one foot in front of the other, get better in that way, to run a faster half marathon, run a faster marathon, or just run a faster race anytime, and progressively get better. And that's what any run will teach you. My core routine, any strength work that I'll do, maybe hopping on the bike for a little bit. But yeah, again, mostly just running is going to help me get better. So I'm just determined to go for a run, not as determined to go for a bike ride, because it's just so much harder, especially with no goal in my head, and most of all, not being able to run, not knowing the true start date for my run. And the only reason I'm like biking is because I do like it. I really do love biking, but I'm more determined to bike because it's the only way to keep up my fitness as much as I can. I know I won't remain nearly the amount of fitness as I'm doing run as if I actually ran. That's like kind of impossible because running is just different. You kind of like, I'm not gonna say you forget how to run, but you just kind of lose the mechanics and kind of like the strength, because in biking you work.
Then muscle memory does kick in, and you'll be able to do
because
everything like that.
At the end of the day, biking uses way different muscles than running, and so it's just a different form of stress, and your body's really not used to it. So it's gonna be hard to get back to running. So it just puts more stress in my mind. That's like, it's not even like I want to go running so bad, but you don't even know when you're going to go for your next run, or you're fully going to heal. And if you do go for your next run, are you going to remain consistent with it, or are you going to
re-injure it? Like, that's like a big fear when you are injured, like, and you are officially healed, you are rehabbed, but then you're a bunch of thoughts come in. How much fitness did I lose? How much just everything did I lose? Am I going to get re-injured? Is my injury going to flare up? And when is this injury going to actually come back? If it does come back, all these thoughts come up in your head, and then your mind starts to play games with you. Literally, your mind will literally start to play games with you and actually present the injury, because overall your mind's still scared. That's why it's giving you signals to your body that's saying, don't do this yet, don't run yet, have these fears, because you need these fears. And so your body will start to present these injuries, these niggles that aren't actually injuries. They're just thoughts and feelings inside your head. It's mind over matter at the end of the day. When you have these thoughts in your head, it's going to actually make you think that you have this pain. But in real spectrum, you don't have this pain. It's just a balance between, if I actually have this pain, or is my mind telling me I have this pain? Because you have to come to a realization that, am I experiencing this injury again, or is my mind telling me that I'm experiencing this injury again?
Yeah, and I know it's been hard for me to not be able to run for that long, and I just know I just have to dig deep into, not the pain, but dig deep into my mind and tell myself over and over, everything has a reason. Everything will be
has a purpose.
Yes, everything has a purpose. It will happen for a reason. You just cannot say it just happened to me. It just it purposely happened to you for a reason. There's a reason why I've been out of running since my marathon. I haven't really been feeling like myself. I gained like 20 plus pounds for a reason. I did all this stuff that's been since my marathon for a reason. I've been out of running for, it's hard. It really is, not just physically but mentally and so on. But it happens for a reason. I know how much worse I've gotten at running. I know how much, I guess you can say, weaker I got in the sport of running for sure. And it's hard, but I know that everything just happens for a reason. I know it's going to bring a bright side. There's going to be a light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm still crawling through
that. It's the beginning to a new end, or the end to a new beginning.
And I decided to crawl into that tunnel on December 13th, and I'm still crawling through it. But I don't know if I can still see that.
But that's a scary thing. You don't know when this tunnel will end. You still don't see light at the end of the tunnel just yet. You still don't see. You might see. Okay, for example, I say you start to feel like, oh, I might be actually getting better, and so you see this light, and then
but it's
that
only
light,
the cracks in the tunnel.
Light actually starts to float. It's a firefly. Okay, it's a firefly, and you see that light. You see that light, and you think that's the end of the tunnel. You're approaching it, and as you get closer, you just realize that's a small dot. That's not actually the end of the tunnel, and so that's when fear and doubt and anxiety, depression all starts to come in, is when you realize that light was just a dot, and you're only creeping your way to the end.
But you're still
the bigger light, the sun. You are actually still just seeing a bunch of small lights, which are giving you a false reality of what's actually to come and what's actually happening.
Yeah, but you're still crawling through the way to the tunnel. You're on your way there. You don't know how much longer you're going to have, but you're still on your progression and get there. And then another analogy, we're so stupid with our analogies, but then you have another light, which is the fire, and you think you're getting better, and you see that, but it's fire, and you start to run from it, and you think you're getting better, and you end up pushing it too fast, but that fire catches up with you, and you're back in the back from ground zero, and you have to
even
rebuild
worse.
from that tunnel.
Yeah, because when that fire lights and you start to run from it, you'll lose the sense of direction. You'll lose your sense of purpose, and you'll have to start back from ground zero. Find the relocation of yourself.
It's almost
Find like everything about you again. And so when that's telling you, you haven't learned a thing about this injury. This injury, this thing that happened bad to you is here for a reason. When you are trying to go towards the end of the tunnel and that you see a fire, and which the fire represents bad things, obviously. And so when you start to run away from the fire because you try to do something way too fast that your body can't handle, it will catch up to you, chase you down, and you won't be able to see the tunnel anymore. If you did see the light at the end of the tunnel, you'll have to choose a different direction, and you have to try to relearn that thing, that your actual injury was there for a reason to teach you. You have to just keep on learning and learning and learning, because that end of the tunnel was there to teach you a whole lesson. But when you try to mimic and just see you act like that's the end of the tunnel, well, you're just gonna end up to ground zero, even maybe even just go further and further beyond than what you used to be at, because you just aren't listening.
And you overtrain. But we touched on this before, but you look at somebody and you automatically say they're overtraining when they're doing higher volume or something too aggressive, you feel like, and you tell them, but they're not. I read something today, and it was from it was on a thing about a podcast from C.J. Albertson, and he said, "Don't." I'm gonna look. Let me see what it was.
But speaking of that, I was listening to the Bear Performance podcast, and he said, this is so random, but he was talking about comparing yourself to others, essentially. And he said that when you might want to try and live somebody else's life, but when you actually try to live in that person's life, the person's feet, the person's shoes, you really had no idea what their life was actually about, because their true life is hidden behind a door. All you see of my life is on a camera, but that's not my true life. There's so much work that goes behind the camera. And just like if you want to become a star athlete, say you want to become Kipchoge, you only know him through the lens of the TV when you're watching him run a marathon. You're only seeing him through his Instagram or any social media platform. But you really just don't know what goes behind the scenes. So you might want to become that certain athlete, that certain individual. But do you really? Because you don't know what's actually behind the doors of that person. You don't know what's actually going on inside their head. You don't know how much work they actually got to put in. So do you actually want to become that person? And that actually goes to the fact that when you try to take, yes, you can take inspiration from people. So like, for instance, I took inspiration from many YouTubers, and that's basically why we do the question and the comment of the day. We also do the comment of the day to just kind of give more insight, give more details to the video, try to share some inspiration, try to add more depth or value to that comment. For instance, if it's like a long distance running question or anything like that, we'll add our value or add our depth. And then we do the question of the day because we want to learn a bit about y'all and just kind of answer it for ourselves. But we took inspiration from other YouTubers, but we're not taking their whole YouTube thing, because if you try to please many audiences all at once, are you pleasing yourself? Are you actually following your values, your work ethic, the actual thing you want to do? Or are you trying to live vicariously by other people's opinions of what they personally want and what they want? But are you doing what you really want to do and you actually want to pursue? because if you try to do what others YouTubers are saying to do, oh, you need to do this, you need to edit your videos this particular way, but you don't want to edit your videos that way because that's boring. That's not part of your, that's not part of yourself. You want to do it your own way, and it's all about the uniqueness of you. Are you doing it because other people want it that way, or are you doing it because of you? Because if you doing it because other people want you to do it that way, you will get burnt out. You won't want to do it anymore because you're trying to live up to other people's standards, but you're not living up to your own standard, and you're not doing it in your unique own way that other people will appreciate. Because if you try to do what everybody wants, you're only going to give value to everybody else but yourself, and that's essentially what you don't want to happen. You don't want to fail your uniqueness.
Yeah, so what I was saying about C.J. Alberson is a podcast, and he said, if you're not faster than me, you can't tell me nothing. So, as you know, if you know C.J. Alberson, he does very high training. He literally ran a marathon 3 weeks before he's running Boston. And that day he ran a marathon, he ran 36 miles. He ran 38 miles
if
for
you
that
aren't
day.
faster than me, you can't. What is it?
If you're not faster than me, you can't tell me nothing.
Or if you aren't me, you can't tell me nothing.
It goes both ways. If you're slower than me, you can't tell me. If you're faster than me, you can't really tell me nothing. Because that's working for you, but it's also what's going to work for you is not going to work for me.
You can give me insight, you can give me details, but don't tell me how to do something that I already know.
And you might listen to it, but they could end up getting faster by their way. They could. A lot of athletes do have coaches, but they pay a lot of money for those coaches. They really do, and those coaches are able to see the insight, and they will still tell you stuff, and they will plan your training. And truly, they don't know, but you pay so much money that they have that insight, not your full, and you can tell them, and they'll actually listen to what you say and other stuff. They'll bring your insight, so they can bring their insight and you combine it, and that's their training. That's basically your training plan. Nobody's training plan is the exact same. I will say, not one person's training will match up to someone else's. And most likely, if you're trying to match up someone else's training, you're going to get injured, most likely.
That's why when you know you're getting ripped off is if you have the same exact training plan as someone else. You know that coach is literally ripping you off. When you have the same exact rest days, the same amount of strength training, the same reps, the same weight, the same amount of miles, the same time, the same pace, whatever, you know you're getting ripped off because that's not you. You're trying to do this other training plan that's not your standard. It's not you. You're trying to do, but when an actual coach is trying to teach you, or you're trying to teach yourself, you're not going to have the same exact training plan. And if a coach actually got to experience how and saw you every single day, or FaceTimed you, even if they FaceTime you, it's not going to add the same value as if they saw you in person to see how you're feeling. Are you sore? Like, what hurts and everything like that? Like, what value is that adding when you have the same exact training plan, or you don't get to see that coach in person to see how you're feeling as an individual after a long run, a workout, an easy run, a strength training session? Because that's not going to add any value to you if you're just not seeing your coach in person, because you just might end up injured.
Yeah, I mean, you just can't go by someone else's training. Like I just said, you're most likely going to get injured, or something is going to go wrong, or you might run slower. Something's going to happen when you're going to follow the exact same training plan as someone else. If you try to match up to someone, you're either going to get burnt out by trying to be someone that's way better, faster than you. And I'm not going to say better. They just been training. I don't know, they could have been training a lot harder, and you're used to training, I don't know, not as hard. You have a full-time job, you can't train every day, you're not a professional. You can't really train like a professional athlete when you're not a professional, because you have a job. They don't have a job, so they have more focus on...
Yeah, they have more focus on their actual task, because that is their job. When you are trying to live an actual human life, because those professional athletes are human, of course.
And
but
again,
they're not living the human lifestyle where they have a job, like a sit down job or some other thing. Literally, they pay people to do their taxes and everything like that. Like that's like I would say if you have enough money and doing taxes, doing laundry, doing chores around the house does not add value to you. You don't think it's fun or anything, and you have enough money to pay for somebody else to do it, make sure you do that, because you're just wasting your time from doing the laundry and doing other things, and it's not adding any value to your life. You can put all your mind and all your focus on that one thing, and that's why essentially professional athletes can put all their mind, all their focus onto that sport. And so that's why it's kind of hard for an individual, a age grouper or somebody like that to literally put all their focus into running, because they're not going to be as good as someone who's literally putting all their focus onto running, because an average human literally has a job. They have a family. They have so many other things that they can't add value to just running. They have to add value to all these different aspects in life. And so that's why you can't compare yourself to a pro runner or even a sub-elite runner. You have to just compare yourself to you and how you used to train. Are you getting better? Are you getting worse? Are you staying the same? Because you have a job, you have a family, you have friends, you have everything like that, and you can't just compare yourself to a pro who doesn't have to pay their taxes, do a sit-down job.
They have to pay their taxes.
Yeah, you know what I mean, though. Like,
some athletes, they pay their taxes.
Okay,
because
you know what I mean, though. Like, you sit down, like, they have the stresses of the job, which can influence cortisol, hunger, their satiety, there's so many things, their sleep, their just recovery, just everything, and they just are struggling because professional athletes literally have the benefit of the doubt with these long recovery sessions. These coaches, like these high-tech coaches, these incredible like running shoes, these like everything. Like there's so many different things that a pro runner has that a sub-elite runner doesn't have, and then you got the age groupers that don't have it, and then there's so many different levels that a pro runner has that you just don't have. So you just cannot compare yourself to them or anybody else. Just compare yourself to you and only you.
And like you said before, you can't strive to be someone else because you truly don't know what's behind the scenes of the athlete, the professional athlete. They could be going through a lot more stress than you think. You don't know what they're going through because of their competition. You don't know what that brings onto their mental side at all. Mm-hmm. I mean, it takes a toll at the end of the day. I mean, I know for you, I mean, what was it like, me running not just the half marathon, but the marathon throughout the whole process?
Very, very hard. Very, as you saw, I had many emotional breakdowns. I had many emotional times. I had many emotional days. And so with it, like, it was just a process at the end of the day of recovery from just everything. And it was hard to see my brother, who I used to actually be better than, and sometimes he would be better than me, and we would just compete back and forth with each other. Now that I see him as a better runner, as a better individual, better cyclist, like, that makes me doubt myself as an individual. That makes doubt come into my mind. Like, how good am I? Like, am I actually worth it? Like, there's so many doubt and, like, depressions and, like, anxiety that comes into my head that's like, why are you trying to become great again? Because it's just pointless. You're gonna wind up injured again. And then when you see your brother cross the finish line, you just get all this jealousness and be like, I could have been in that position. Oh, I could have been racing him. Oh, I could have competed him. I could have made him better. I could have made myself better. And then that self-doubt, that self-worth comes into play, basically saying, I could have made him better because I would have been in competition. I could have made me better as an individual. I could have made me faster. And then you just seeing somebody that you're very close with becoming better and better and better than you at the sport of running, and now cycling, because I literally used to be better than you at cycling. Mm-hmm. Now I'm just seeing that kind of just tear away from me and like just separate. Like I'm on an island that's just slowly drifting away from that goal and slowly drifting away from that purpose of cycling and running and trying to influence others. And so then that self-doubt starts to come in again, saying, you are here on this earth to influence others, to get out the door, actually be like, influence others to be have fitness and run and cycle and enjoy endurance, enjoy sports, enjoy physical activity. And now you are just sitting on the couch and being a couch potato, and you can't really influence others. So now there's a new perspective so yes, everything happens for a reason, because now this has taught me a new perspective in my life. I don't have to just influence others to do physical activity and enjoy exercise. I still love to do that. Even from sitting on the sidelines, I still love to do that. But now I have a sense of new value in my life, to where now I can influence others to live a better life, live a more fulfilled life, how to manage their task at hand better, how to actually find balance in their life, how to do so many other things. Because now this YouTube channel is not just developing into a running and cycling type of journey, a channel. It's developing into a life channel. It's developing into so many things that you can try to implement into your life to become a better runner, a better cyclist, a better husband, a better wife, a better sibling, a better friend. Live your life to the fullest. Have so much more to your life. Add more value to your life, because you're able to do so many things. I'm trying to add value to your life to teach you like how to find the balance that you need, how to work harder and work smarter, not harder, and have better sleep and do so many other things that can just influence your life to a better degree than you ever thought it could be. And so that's kind of the purpose of this injury at the end of the day, is add value. And probably there's more to come to this injury. That's why everything happens for a reason. It still could be, I still overall don't know the reason. It could have been this, it could be something else, it could be there could be something that's coming with this. There's so many different things, because overall this injury has taught me to never take a thing for granted. Literally never take anything for granted. This injury has taught me so many things about life and running and cycling and just the whole like spectrum of life in general, and it has just showed me what it is to be a true like person, like athlete, and just everything like that.
I mean, yeah, it's nobody's life is going to be perfect, and this channel does show the insight of our lives, and we hope to grow this channel and show more in the insight, because this channel does show that we don't always have the best of times. It does show that at times, but it also shows the hardships and the other stuff. Not everything that we go through terribly, but some of the things with this injury and how this year is not that has not that I can't oh my god has not been that good for me. It's been kind of difficult mentally, physically, and all the aspects that go into life. It's been difficult. I mean, it has not been that much of an easy year, and I'm not gonna say it's always gonna be easy. There's gonna be difficult times that can last a very long time, and you might feel like it's never ending. But it goes back to going through that tunnel. You're crawling through that tunnel, and soon you're gonna find that light, and you're gonna see it, and you're gonna get joy, and you're gonna crawl out that tunnel, and you're gonna get refreshed. It's like you're reborn since you went through that tunnel. You learned a lot as you crawled through that tunnel. You saw stuff, you learned. You went through periods with no food, no water. Again, this is an analogy, but you learn from it. You learn what to do during those times, and you fought through it. You fought through it, and you got out that tunnel.
You learn how to cope with it.
Yeah.
And that's the good thing. You learn how to cope with things that you used to not learn how to cope with. And so everything's a learning experience, because when you learn something, you can implement it into your future, and so you can actually implement that when you actually, so say you fell out of a tree, okay? Well, now you know how to not fall out of a tree, so you climb up a tree again, then you don't fall out because you learned it. And so every time you climb up a tree, You don't fall out. Now, if you never fell out the tree, you're always at that risk of falling out the tree. You're always at the risk. But if you see what I'm trying to say, you have less risk because you know what you're doing now. You have more value, you have more lessons learned, you have more depth into what that thing is, you know. And it kind of actually influences the domino effect, because when you do something in your life, you know what the domino effect is. Like, I think you should, like, when one thing happens, it can influence another thing, and then that can influence a whole pathway of things. And so when you get injured, it's going to influence your way, your purpose, your thoughts, your mood. And so when you go to work, or you film on YouTube or do something, you walk or something, you are going to have a certain mood because of your injury. And so that's going to influence other people's mood. As they say, happy people make happy people. Sad people make down people. I don't know. Something like that. And so when you have that's going to influence other people's and other people's decisions, and that can influence other people's thought process and their way of life. Like, should I add more value to my life? Should I sit on the couch and do nothing for the rest of my life? And so many things, because the domino effect will literally influence the whole world around you, because everybody is connected to some degree. Literally, we are connected to all of our subscribers somehow, some way or another, because I influence y'all, and then y'all influence somebody else, and then they influence somebody else, or not even through the camera lens. I influence somebody, and somehow that connects to you even without the camera lens.
Yeah, I mean, the domino effect just can go inside your bubble, where one thing happens and influences your next decision.
So true.
Where, like I don't know if I would be having all these thoughts where I just keep on thinking. I can't get the thoughts out of my head the way I need to. If I was actually running, would I have thoughts? Yeah, probably. I mean, who doesn't have thoughts? But I don't know if I would have as many thoughts as racing, so that affects. So when someone's trying to talk to me, I'm gonna be rude, I gotta say, and I won't answer because I'm just in that major thought process. And I can hear them a little bit, but I don't, and that affects something to another thing to another. And it may be affect that I won't be able to get work done because I'm too busy thinking. And that can affect something else. It
can affect your sleep.
Now you
have to work later.
Or I have more stress now, and my sleep won't be as good. And the next morning,
you'll be more tired. You'll have less work ethic. You'll be more fatigued on your bike ride, and then that will influence your hunger cues. Then when your hunger cues, that's going to affect your bowel movements. Like, there's so many different things.
Yeah,
everything is connected to one thing or another somehow, some way, just everything.
Yeah. I mean, one pair of running shoes will, or just any pair of running shoes will have, not any pair, any pair of shoes is gonna have an impact on anybody. I mean,
you have to live in your own shoes. Like, your shoes represents your life.
And you can't put someone else's shoes on to see how they live. You'll never be able to find out how someone else truly lives unless you literally go inside their mind. Just by putting on their shoes and trying to live their life is not good. I know there's a lot of YouTube videos that show I live like Mark Wahlberg for a day. Yeah, you live like him, but you truly didn't live like him. You don't know his thought process.
Different.
You don't know his true side of how he actually is feeling.
You still have your thought process, and overall, you live like him for a day, but that's not his everyday occurrence. You might eat differently some days. You might eat at different times. You might have a doctor's appointment. For instance, today is different from yesterday. Yesterday, I edited like 3 videos, and I went to work. And I did my actual strength training routine, PT session. Today I woke up at a different time. I did not PT this morning, I phone rolled. And unlike yesterday, I had a doctor's appointment today. An orthodontist appointment today. And then I edited it, and then I ate, and then I went to the grocery store. Tomorrow I will not be going to the grocery store, most likely. I will not be going to the orthodontist. I actually have an FAI appointment, which is the femoral hip impingement specialist.
And that decision by you is affecting my decision,
and then
to where I have to go into work for you.
Which
affected my decision to where I end up picking up a double, because I don't know if I would have picked up a double if I didn't work.
And everything happens for a reason, because let's say I go in, I might influence a person's mood differently from compared to you, how you might influence somebody else's mood. And so everything literally falls into place for a reason. Literally, let's say I went to work, I can influence somebody to go home or like drive home, but there's a car accident for some reason. But compared to you, who there's no car accident. I'm not saying I'm a magical wizard that's like causing car accidents, but the time I left home could be different from the time you left home, which can impact somebody's mistake or my mistake, which could influence a car accident to happen. There's so many different reasons why things happen, and it just falls into place and kind of connects the dots and connects the puzzle and forms this whole puzzle piece, which is known as the world itself. It's known as life. When you connect all the puzzle pieces together, it forms the globe of Earth, and everybody, and each puzzle piece represents each person, and each person literally connects to somebody some way or another through a sense of knowledge, a purpose, and influences, mood, so many different things.
Yep.
We ending it? I don't want to.
I don't want to. I really don't want
to. No, I don't want to end it because I literally had, before I went into this, probably 3 minutes ago, I actually had something I wanted to say, and then you said something, and then that made me actually forget what that said, or actually that didn't forget. I had two thoughts in my head, but I chose to go with that path of that thought, and I ended up forgetting that thought, and so your saying impacted what thought I should choose and how I should go about the podcast and what pathway I should continue and which direction I should go, and so that kind of influenced how long this podcast would have been, how long it could have been, or it could have been 2 hours, it could have been an hour, it could have been 30 minutes. If I didn't do that certain pathway, that certain thought. And so that's actually why I don't really truly want to end it, because I want to connect more pathways, influence this podcast better. And so maybe if I actually did that direction, it could have been a longer podcast or it could have been a shorter podcast. We will never know, because everything literally falls into place for a reason. Somehow, in some way, I'm literally talking about this, literally how we talk about in the podcast.
Yep.
But for some reason I don't want to end it, because we're only at 50 minutes, or not even, and I always want the podcast to be longer and longer and longer, because that's an attribute of mine. I always have to be better than the time I've been before. I always have to do something better than the thing I did before. I always have to go longer. I have to do something longer and longer and longer, and try to improve in some way or another. And I always can't do that, but that's just my thought process. That's the way I do things. It's literally trying to improve every aspect of my life every single time. And that overall will lead to troublesome, that will lead to fatigue, that will lead to burnout, if I'm trying to live every day, every second, every hour, every minute of my day better and better and better, because there is going to be hardship sometimes. There's going to be battles in your time. There is going to be days that are just much harder than other days. There are other times that are just not what you wanted in your story, but it's still a chapter in your life that you might have not wanted to happen, but it just happened. And so that's just going to influence your decisions. That's just going to influence everything about you. And sometimes things happen and you don't want them to, and you try to always improve and improve and improve, but where will you get in life? Always improving? No. You will always feel self-doubt. You will feel self-worth, because you overall aren't improving. You're just living the same day over and over, trying to improve, but you're actually not getting better and better and better.
Yeah. And I want to mention this comment, and it goes to David Baker, and it says, "Do you take turmeric When I had a running injury that was mainly inflammation from overuse when I was training for my first full marathon, I started taking turmeric as a natural anti-inflammatory, and it works really well. So I actually do take a turmeric and calcium mixed supplement. So I do take turmeric and turmeric.
Yeah, we do take turmeric,
Yeah,
but it's not mixed with calcium. It's turmeric curcurium.
I thought it said turmeric. I thought I'd been saying turmeric calcium. I'm like, what? Okay, whatever. So at the end of the day, I do take, and I don't know if it's been helping or not. I don't know if I took it out, would it do something? If I didn't take it out, would it do something? Again, everything has a purpose. Why I haven't taken that.
Turmeric curcurium, or whatever, is the same thing as turmeric. I wonder if it is, because that's actually, I don't know, because I know there's different type of like magnesium. There's different type of magnesiums. There's magnesiums to help you go to bed. There's different, and then there's magnesiums to help bowel movements. And there's different types of mushrooms. Like for instance, there's a mushroom blend that can help you fall asleep. Then there's the other mushroom that literally makes you hallucinate. And then there's the other mushrooms that are literally edible and that can influence your health by the certain vitamins it has, the certain minerals it has. So I literally wonder if turmeric curcurium and turmeric are the same things, because there's so many different pathways, like, of the certain vitamins and certain minerals. Like, literally, I don't even know all the minerals and vitamins there are, because there's so many different types of turmeric. Probably there's so many different types.
There is a difference. Curcuma longa versus turmeric versus curcumin turmeric.
Yes, I think. And then, like, there's so many different B vitamins. There's different D vitamins. There's different fatty omegas. There's so many. There's probably even different calciums. To be honest with you, there's a lot of different supplements. To be honest with you. So what is the difference between it?
Turmeric powder comes from the ground up roots of the Curcuma longo plant. Within turmeric and there's so many words that are so hard to pronounce. Curcuminids, a potent compound that acts as an antioxidant and reduces inflammation throughout the body. Studies show that curcumin provides most of the health benefits. In
Compared to
simpler
the other
terms,
turmerics?
I guess. I don't know. In simpler terms, curcumin is inside turmeric, which is inside Curcuma longo root. That's the shortened version of the primary distinction. They all have the same lineage, but are quite different when you take a deeper dive. To get a better understanding why turmeric is so popular, let's analyze each component. I'm not analyzing that.
We'll analyze it probably after this podcast, because we'll be on our phone and it would just look super unprofessional, even though this podcast, or it's kind of more like a talk show, I guess you can say. But it would make it look super unprofessional.
So they both have the benefits of both is it reduces inflammation, powerful antioxidant, improves your cardiovascular health, weight management, supports cognitive function, improves liver health, digestive system.
Wait, are you on the photos for it? Because sometimes if you go on the photos, it can compare different things. That's what I do sometimes. I literally just, when I want to compare something, I go on the photos, because it literally has like a Venn diagram of what it's comparing. And it's cool because it has like the comparison, the differences, and it's kind of cool because it's like easier, and I don't have to read a whole article about someone's life, about how it influenced it, when I just want a short answer. But you can help. We in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or are we not?
I think we are.
Anyways, we might actually film a podcast later tonight.
Maybe.
Because we need to kind of get ahead. And plus, I kind of want to start posting a podcast on Wednesday, because some people actually like the podcast better. Some people like the vlogs better, and some like actually the same. So we want to try to add more value. And so anyways, you can help support the channel on Patreon. Like we mentioned before, $1 from every single subscriber. Even if it's just $1, it can literally help tremendously. It really can. Just 50 cents for both of us is fine, because it helps the channel. It really does. Like, literally, the tripod I'm filming on, the cleaning equipment I cleaned on the camera, is literally because of y'all on Patreon. Anyways, make sure you seek happiness, achieve goals,
and find glory.
Why do we do that? Why do we do that?
Do what?
Seek happiness, achieve goals, and then I'll wait for you to say, find glory. Why do we do that?
I don't know. I just randomly say it. And it's like you know I'm gonna say
Because
it.
I make sure you say
no,
it.
as soon as
And if you didn't say it, I'd be like, man, this is kind of getting awkward.
no, as soon as you said it, I'm like, oh, I gotta say it.
When did that start? I wonder when
Has it started? I thought this was like the first time.
No.
I don't know. I just don't really.
Yeah,
notice
I
it.
always get scared that it's gonna be an awkward silence saying, "Damn, is he gonna say it? Is he gonna say it?" Or am I gonna be like, "Seek happiness, achieve goals," and then there's a complete silence. I'm like, "Oh, find glory." But anyways, make sure you seek happiness, achieve goals,
And find glory. We'll see you in the next one. And peace.